Welcome in to the Sporting News NFL Mock Draft 2021 special. I'm Vinnie Iyer. I'm the NFL writer for Sporting News, and we're just going to go through the first round here using all the technology that we have to mock the picks there for the night of April 29th. So we'll go 1 through 32. Go down below, make your comments, subscribe, and hopefully you'll enjoy all the picks I've made for your teams. All right, let's get into our mock draft here. And luckily, we have an easy pick starting at number 1 overall. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars. And unless they've changed their mind, Urban Meyer's done some reflective thinking and says he wants to go in a different direction at quarterback. We know what this pick is going to be. Trevor Lawrence, the quarterback from Clemson. It's an easy choice. I mean, he's the best quarterback prospect in this class. And for many reasons, he's got a big arm that really you don't see come along very often. And when Trevor Lawrence stands out among this group of 5 that are going in the first round, you know he's something special. He's got the pedigree. He's been touted since he came out of high school, the best recruit since John Elway. A lot because of that arm, but he's big, strong, prototypical, can move around here, make all the plays you need as a quarterback. So I think he's going to have a special career. Jacksonville won the lottery. Here, having the worst record in the NFL. They're going to enjoy Trevor Lawrence for many years to come. So let's not waste any time and say Trevor Lawrence, quarterback Clemson, to the Jaguars. Well, we had another development as well happen where the New York Jets might be just as easy as a pick here that we know, with the Jets dealing Sam Darnold to the Panthers. That clears the way. They don't really have quarterbacks in New York now for Robert Saleh, their new head coach. We know Joe Douglas, their general manager, has been aggressive. They also have a new offensive coordinator here, Mike LaFleur, and he comes from Kyle Shanahan. His brother is Matt LaFleur of the Packers. So they really like Zach Wilson of BYU. He's got a nice arm. He's an accurate passer here. He's pretty athletic. So he checks all the boxes that you want in this offense. I think he also has a good mindset to handle New York and the pressure that comes with trying to turn around this franchise. The Jets have been looking for a quarterback for a long time here. So, yeah, so this one is almost as easy as going with Trevor Lawrence to the Jaguars. The Jets select Zach Wilson, quarterback BYU, in this mock draft. All right, so 2 down. That was pretty easy. We have 30 more to go. Now it gets a lot harder. Let's be real with this. It's all downhill from here in terms of the accuracy. We are pretty good about 1 and 2 here. Now we go to number 3, and this is the one that everyone has had different kind of perspectives about. It's the San Francisco 49ers. They made that big trade up with the Dolphins, moved all the way up to number 3. They did admit, at least from Kyle Shanahan and their general manager, John Lynch, that they're going to go after a quarterback with this pick. And the debate has been, is it going to be Trey Lance? He's a young quarterback from North Dakota State. Great upside, hasn't played a lot of football. You have Justin Fields, who's played a couple years at Ohio State, played at a high level, dynamic athlete as well. And you have Mac Jones, who had a big year for Alabama, playing well with all those great weapons there, led them to a national championship. And there's 2 ways of thinking about the 49ers pick. One is that they have Jimmy Garoppolo, so they could stash a Trey Lance, develop him in Kyle Shanahan's offense, and then unleash him there in 2022. Or we look at Kyle Shanahan's previous quarterbacks. You have Matt Ryan, who won an MVP. You have Kirk Cousins. You have Garoppolo now. So who do you go with that is similar to those type of quarterbacks? Not necessarily a runner, but is going to keep plays alive, execute, throw the ball accurately, get the ball in the hands of playmakers, use a very good offensive line. Trent Williams, the best left tackle in the NFL, got a great contract to stay here for a long time. So I'm going to say 49ers move on from Jimmy Garoppolo right now, and they draft Mac Jones, quarterback, Alabama, at number 3. All right, so not too bad. We got 3 picks, 3 quarterbacks. Should we keep it going with another quarterback? The Falcons are another mystery here, but I think the mystery should have been solved a little bit if the 49ers are leaning Mac Jones. And Trey Lance, if you paid attention to his pro day out there in the Fargo Dome when he threw and made scouts drop their jaws a little bit with what he could do, He operated with the Atlanta Falcons playbook. I don't think it's a coincidence that he's using the Falcons playbook to show, look, hey, Falcons, take me here at number 4. I know you got other needs. You got to think about defense. You got corner. You got defensive end. You got all these positions that you have to address to really rebuild here. But to me, I think Arthur Smith, a new offensive-minded head coach, wants to take this team to a different direction. And I say they're going to go after the quarterback as well. And Matt Ryan, you can't get out of his contract here in 2021, but 2022, it's a little easier. So I think they're going to stash Trey Lance and draft Trey Lance, quarterback, North Dakota State, number 4 overall, to the Falcons, assuming they don't trade down from that pick. All right, so we have 4 picks here. Now we have to consult our second computer here. It's time already. 5 picks in to see where we want to go with the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, the Bengals have a very interesting decision at number 5. And looking at all the information we have here, that they could go for an offensive tackle. Everyone says protect Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is going to get buried. He needs to get somebody who's going to keep him upright here. Well, that's a good way of thinking. Then you could think about Joe Burrow needs some more weapons. So you could look at Kyle Pitts. He threw to the middle field a lot last year. You got a tight end from Florida that's really special, can make a lot of plays. You already have 2 pretty good receivers there, T. Higgins and Tyler Boyd. Or do you say, we want a Jamar Chase out of LSU? We know where Joe Burrow went to school. He went to LSU. I think Chase is the best wide receiver in this class. So you could say, let's reunite these guys, because Chase didn't play last year. He opted out. So the last time he caught passes was from Joe Burrow. So those are 2 tough alternatives here, Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase. But the Bengals really need to think about, I think, not just Joe Burrow and the pass protection, but also the running game and trying to get better there, because their run blocking is not very good either. So I'm thinking they go away from the skill position temptation to offensive tackle, and they take Penei Sewell, offensive tackle, Oregon, at number 5 overall. All right, so 5 down and 27 more to go here. The Dolphins threw everyone for a bit of a curveball here by moving from number 3, where they were, where the 49ers are picking now, and the 49ers took Mac Jones. Then they moved down to 12, then they moved back up to 6, where the Eagles were. So the Dolphins making some moves up and down the draft. The funny thing is that number 6, I still think they can get the player they want here. So of all this, moving 3 spots down, the Dolphins, they're going to look at Jamar Chase as well. So we know who their quarterback is. It's Tua Tagovailoa. He went to Alabama. We know there's 2 Alabama receivers there that are also alternatives here, Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, 2 special receivers in their own right. But Chase, I think he's a little bit better than both. I think he's just a more complete receiver. He's more dynamic. I think he gives you a lot of what Waddle can do in stretching the field. He can give you a lot of what Smith can do in running good routes and making good decisions here and catching the ball shorthanded and all that. So I'm going to say the Dolphins get some help for Tua and say, look, we got Devontae Parker. Let's get another receiver here. And I think they're going to take Jamar Chase, wide receiver LSU, to the Miami Dolphins. All right, so we got 6 picks now, and the Detroit Lions are on the clock next. This is an interesting team at number 7. All of a sudden, the Lions, there have been talk about them going after a quarterback. So that might sound strange, because they made a trade, traded Matthew Stafford to the Rams for Jared Goff. So they do have a starting quarterback here in 2021, but are they really thrilled about it? I mean, the biggest thing they probably got out of that deal was the 2 extra first-round picks. So they have a little bit of capital to play with. They realize that maybe this is where we want to go, quarterback. But, of course, this decision is going to be influenced by the picks before. So if Trey Lance is off the board there to the Falcons, do the Lions want to take Justin Fields? But for me, I think the Lions really need a wide receiver. I mean, there's no question about it. Their wide receiver core was absolutely gutted in free agency. Kenny Golladay signed with the Giants. Marvin Jones went to the Jaguars, presumably to play with Trevor Lawrence. And Denny Amendola wasn't re-signed. So all 3 receivers need replacement here. So that would bring us to the decision. Do we take Jalen Waddle? Do we take Devonta Smith? I think they need Devonta Smith a little bit more. Jalen Waddle is a great player in his own right, can make a lot of big plays, and I like that part, but they need a number 1. and I think Devonta Smith better fits that bill for the Lions. So with the 7th overall pick, the Detroit Lions select Devonta Smith, wide receiver, Alabama. All right, so the Carolina Panthers are up next, and we were set to give the Carolina Panthers a quarterback, and then they go out and get Sam Darnold. So I don't think I feel good about giving them a quarterback when they gave up multiple picks, including a second-rounder next year to get Sam Darnold from the Jets. So the Jets locked into a quarterback immediately after the trade, and the Panthers were pulled off a quarterback immediately after that trade. So I think there's some conventional wisdom that says the Panthers should go after some offense, whether it's Pitts or Waddle, or the next offensive tackle on the board, Rashawn Slater there of Northwestern. So you have 3 offensive options, but I actually wouldn't mind the Panthers going defense here. The defense was a nice revelation at some point for Matt Rule in his first season there as they were rebuilding. You had Brian Burns really come on as a pass rusher. You had the emergence of Jerry McChin making plays at safety. So you really could use someone else in that pass defense. It's tough to know who the top corner in this draft is. There's been a lot of debate over that. Patrick Surtain, too. We know his father played in the NFL for a long time. He played at Alabama. You have Caleb Farley, big-sized corner from Virginia Tech. And you have J.C. Horn. His father also played in the NFL, Joe Horn. So you had 3 options there for the top corner. I am thinking it is still Caleb Farley. He opted out again, another guy who didn't play last year, along with Chase and Sewell, who we took early in this draft. So Caleb Farley, the Panthers could use him. They have Dante Jackson on one side. You're not sure about A.J. Bowie as the second starting corner. They kind of took a flyer on him from the Broncos. So if they stay put, and I think the Panthers are a strong candidate to trade down, Caleb Farley, cornerback, Virginia Tech, to Carolina at number 8 overall. Okay, now we're down to number 9, and the Broncos like the developments in front of them. They have to, because they're not thrilled about Drew Lock. We've seen Drew Lock play. We know the upside certainly is not there, and John Elway is tired of a revolving door quarterback. He's tried different guys, young guys, older guys. Nothing has worked here. You have a new GM this time around, and George Patton, he came from the Vikings. Vikings have made a lot of good decisions here in the draft. So the Broncos are going to hope that, hey, everyone realizes that they're going to get the number 5 quarterback, that someone doesn't jump them and go make a deal with the Lions or Panthers to try to get this quarterback in front of them. But to me, I don't think there's a decision here. If the Broncos are on the clock and they want to make the right decision, I think they have to take Justin Fields. I think he's a great fit in what they want to do offensively. Drew Lock just hasn't been all that durable. He hasn't been all that productive here. He's had, I think, ample opportunities, even though it's only been a couple years here. Justin Fields is just going to give you more elements to your offense. You can do a lot more. So I'm going to go here and give the Broncos exactly what they need, and this is exactly what they should do if this scenario happens in draft. The Denver Broncos select Justin Fields, quarterback, Ohio State, at number 9 overall. All right, so we're almost through the top 10 here, and the Dallas Cowboys are always an interesting team when it comes to the draft. Jerry Jones, who knows what he's thinking at any point. Last year, it was a surprise. CeeDee Lamb was hanging around for the Cowboys' first-round pick, the wide receiver from Oklahoma. Did they really need a wide receiver? No, they didn't. They had 2 pretty good ones, Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. No, but Jerry Jones knew maybe the Eagles were looking at CeeDee Lamb, and we know what Jerry Jones likes to do more than anyone else. Go after any picks that the Eagles are thinking about. So that would say that the interest in Kyle Pitts is twofold here, that the Cowboys don't have a lot at tight end. They have Blake Jarwin, but he's coming off a major knee injury. Dalton Schultz, more of a blocker, was productive okay to some degree last year, but you put Kyle Pitts with the combination of CeeDee Lamb and Michael Gallup and Amari Cooper for Dak Prescott, I mean, that's going to be really tough offense to stop. But we know the Cowboys' problem is not offense, it is defense. They need a cornerback badly. They did actually get a cornerback from Alabama last year in Trayvon Diggs. Let's go back to the Crimson Tide, take Patrick Surtain, try to get the back of our defense settled here. They have a lot of linebacker depth. They need a little bit more pass rush. They need a lot of secondary. So Patrick Surtain, 2 from Alabama, is a choice for the Cowboys at number 10 overall in this mock draft. All right, so that was pretty good. We got through the first 10 picks. We still have 22 more to go. Yeah, a long way to go here, but we'll get through it. And the New York Giants will be happy about that pick because they're going to sweat it out a little bit with the Cowboys as well. Interesting here that the way the draft is shaken out, that it's the Cowboys, Giants, and Eagles in consecutive picks here. So the Giants, I think, have a no-brainer here as well if the draft plays out this way. You look at what they've done for Daniel Jones. They are saying, this is the year, Daniel Jones. You have to come through. You have Saquon Barkley coming back from injury. You've got a new number one receiver here in Kenny Galladay. You added a second tight end here in Kyle Rudolph. Last year, you drafted Andrew Thomas as your offensive tackle. Let's go get the other offensive tackle. Shore up your pass protection. Now, Rashawn Slater, another guy that opted out, so it seemed like not playing college football 2020 is going to pay off nicely here in the first round of the draft. So when you consider all that, put Slater on the left side, put Thomas on the right side. Nate Solder's getting older. We're not going to let the pass protection slide here for Daniel Jones. This is all you need here, Daniel Jones, to perform here. And we know in his terms, Dave Gettleman loves hog mollies. And Rashawn Slater is the definition of a hog molly. Giants select Rashawn Slater, offensive tackle, Northwestern, at number 11 overall. All right, so if the Cowboys don't play games with the Eagles, then the Eagles are going to be sitting pretty here with number 12. We know that they're shopping Zach Ertz. It's been a nice run with Zach Ertz. He was around with Carson Wentz. Produced very well. He's a beloved guy in Philadelphia, but he's getting a little older. You have a second tight end there in Dallas Goedert that's been pretty good, but this is an Eagles team that will continue to use a lot of two tight end sets and just need a dynamic playmaker here for Jalen Hurts as your starting quarterback. So I don't think this is very difficult either. That I don't think it's a luxury pick for the Eagles. I know they have a lot of needs, but you're also trying to lift a young quarterback in your own right in Jalen Hurts. So add Kyle Pitts to this offense. I think it could be very special. I think you have an offensive-minded coach here, Nick Sirianni, that wants to get better out of his offensive sets, become a little bit more versatile. Pitts is a bit of a wide receiver hybrid as well. So Kyle Pitts, number 12 overall, is the selection, the tight end Florida to the Eagles. All right, so the Chargers should like the way this develops as well. Now, we were pretty close here when we're ranking and analyzing Jamar Chase versus Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle as the top wide receiver in the draft. Well, they're different receivers. I think Chase and Smith are more that well-rounded classic number one. Jalen Waddle, I think, can be that type of receiver, but for me, what he does is hit home runs. You get him out in the open field, he's going to make big plays. You stretch the field with him, have him run deeper routes, he's going to make big plays. If you're the Los Angeles Chargers, you can think about offensive line, and maybe if Slater's on the board, you could think about going in that direction. But if we're the Chargers, we have a great asset here in Justin Herbert. We've got a great number one receiver in Keenan Allen. We need some help making some big plays. Mike Williams not as reliable as we would like there as the number two receiver. Maybe he'll be better as a number three. So let's go with the best player available in our eyes here and help Justin Herbert take Jalen Waddle, wide receiver Alabama, to the Chargers at number 13. All right, we're up to number 14, and the Minnesota Vikings, they're an interesting team in the way they drafted. Actually, in Sporting News' mock draft last year, it's crazy that we nailed actually both of the Vikings picks last year. They were the wide receiver Justin Jefferson out of LSU and the cornerback Jeff Gladney there that unfortunately has not had a good turn here with Gladney and the off-the-field issues. But Justin Jefferson was a great pick, obviously, for the Vikings. He was the Sporting News Offensive Rookie of the Year. So the Vikings are going to try to strike gold again here. Now, what do? Well, they need help on the left side of their offensive line. And I'm not sure if they want to replace left tackle, left guard. But this is a team that is run heavy, want to have a good run blocker, help Dalvin Cook there, help him really produce at a high level, continue that as the bread and butter of their offense. So I'm going to say the best pick here for them, at this spot is a guy that is a guard who plays like a tackle or a tackle who plays like a guard, however you want to slice it here with him. But Elijah Vera-Tucker from USC, I think he's a great pick for the Vikings. He has the versatility and athleticism they're looking for in an offensive lineman. So Elijah Vera-Tucker, tackle/guard from USC to the Vikings at number 14. All right, almost halfway home here in the first round mock draft here from Sporting News. Let's now look at our next team on the clock. This team is quite popular, you will say, is the New England Patriots. And people are trying to get into Bill Belichick's head. That's a tough place to be in. We know it can be very tricky to try to understand the inner workings of Bill Belichick. And he's hurting, we know, a little bit, because Tom Brady went off and won a Super Bowl with the Buccaneers. He brought Cam Newton back as his quarterback. So everyone's wondering, are the Patriots going to make this move up, surprise everyone, and go after Justin Fields or Trey Lance and make a blockbuster move? I don't think that's necessarily the way the Patriots operate. They tend to trade down more. So I would say if the Patriots do anything here in this draft, I would think they trade down. That's exactly what they tend to do. And maybe try to stockpile some picks. Maybe they can target a Kyle Trask, the next quarterback on the board, if they maneuver a little bit with their first and second round picks to get a pick that's more in line with Trask's value. So they could do that. But if they stay put here, we know Bill Belichick likes defensive players, and they drafted a lot defensively last year. And this draft figures to be a little more offensive-minded as we go through it. But you also know Dante Hightower opted out last season, getting a little older. They need an inside linebacker, a versatile guy that can make a lot of plays. And that's a good time for Micah Parsons. Again, yet another opting out player here from 2020 that goes to the New England Patriots. If they stay put and all things considered here and Parsons is available, I think he's a great pick for them. So Bill Belichick and the Patriots, Micah Parsons, linebacker, Penn State, number 15 overall. All right, now we're at 16, so about to finish the top half of your first round. The Arizona Cardinals could go in many directions here. I think offensively they look pretty set for a while, so I don't think you'll necessarily get the traditional pick from them. I think you'll look at more of a depth pick, and there's a lot of good pass rushers, and the number one pass rusher, I think this is a pretty good debate here on who that guy is in this draft. They did lose Hassan Reddick, who had a breakout season there. Chandler Jones is getting a little older. I think it circles back to the guy I think has been the best pass rusher in this draft overall. Not just a pass rusher, but a guy that can start and be reliable in a 3-4, which the Cardinals run here. And Chandler Jones needs a successor, and they also need some situational pass rush help now to replace Reddick. I still think it's Gregory Rousseau. Some people have his teammate Jalen Phillips ahead of him and some other guys, but I like Gregory Rousseau or another pass rusher here for the Cardinals. So for our purposes here, Gregory Rousseau, edge rusher, Miami to the Cardinals. All right, number 17. Now it's thinking defense. So we're on a little bit of a defense run here after we got to the Patriots there at 15. So we got the Patriots taking Micah Parsons, the Cardinals taking Gregory Rousseau. The Raiders could go in many different directions here, but they need defensive help most of all here. So let's see who's around for them. Linebacker has been an issue for the Raiders for a while now. They did invest a lot in linebacker there with Corey Littleton and Nick Kwiatkowski in free agency. It didn't quite pan out. Kwiatkowski couldn't stay healthy. Corey Littleton needed time to adjust. Now they need a run stopper here that can help them on the second level. Stopping the run is going to be a priority here for the Raiders and the way they might construct the draft here for John Gruden and Mike Mayock. And we know where Mike Mayock used to work. He used to do Notre Dame games on NBC as the color commentator. So this will maybe throw it back old school to those days where there's a good prospect here for what the Raiders are looking for. That's Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, the linebacker from Notre Dame. He can complement those other two guys really well, really shore up the second level of the defense for the Raiders, and also give you a bit of pass rush and coverage playmaking ability here on top of stopping the run. So Raiders at number 17 overall as we begin the second half of the first round. Take linebacker Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah from Notre Dame. All right, so we're into our second half here. The Miami Dolphins have a second pick here. The first pick that they moved around and ended up at number 6, that came from the Houston Texans. And here, this is their original pick, as they just barely missed the playoffs. And we know what we did with the first pick for the Dolphins. We gave them Jamar Chase, so we went to offense with a wide receiver. Now I think they need a little bit of defense. And when you think of Brian Flores, came out of Bill Belichick and Chris Greer, they're going to think versatile defensive player whenever they can, if that's the best available player. And at this spot here at number 18, you would say that is certainly an option for them. So the player that I'm looking at here is from Michigan and Kwity Paye. And he has been talked about quite a bit for his ability to rush the passer and just be effective, doing all kinds of things, versatile on their front. As much as Michigan has struggled a little bit with getting over the hump there to that elite status in the Big Ten, they've produced some very good defensive players here. And Kwity Paye is one of those players. And again, freakish guy, big dude. You can put on the inside, outside, can rush the passer from both spots here. Some people see him as edge rusher, some people see him as an interior rusher, but overall, Brian Flores is just going to see him as a guy that can make a lot of plays here for this defense. So Kwity Paye, the edge rusher / defensive tackle from Michigan, to the Dolphins with their second pick here at 18 overall. All right, so the next pick and next team we have is the Washington football team. Now, I think there's one clear direction Washington can go in. They had a pretty good offseason here, upgraded at corner a little bit, so that's not as big of a deal for Washington. Quarterback, they went after Ryan Fitzpatrick, so he gets another bridge gig in Washington. They also have two young guys that they like, Taylor Heineke and Kyle Allen. But we saw what Trent Williams still had left in the tank. They made the deal with the 49ers. They've been missing that top left tackle. And there's one more left tackle that is worth going after that you feel really good about. That's a traditional left tackle. And that would be Christian Darrisaw from Virginia Tech. So you put him on the left side, help the pass protection. You've got some pretty good weapons now. Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas, Curtis Samuel, Antonio Gibson. Let's get a little bit better blocking here. You brought back Brandon Scherf for your interior offensive line. So, yeah, we like it. Local connection, not too far down the road here. So, Washington football team selects Christian Darrisaw, offensive tackle, Virginia Tech, here at number 19 overall. And we're looking at the Chicago Bears next. And the Bears, like the Washington football team, went out and got a bridge quarterback, Andy Dalton. They are a candidate to trade up, maybe aggressive move, go after that quarterback. We know they were disappointed with the way the quarterback results happened here in free agency and on the trade market. But the Bears have to come to their senses and realize, look, we can't move up that far to get that type of quarterback right now. Let's focus on one of the many other positions of need we have. Offensively, they have tackle and guard. Defensively, they can look at cornerback. But ultimately, I think they need more playmakers on offense. So you have Dalton in there. He does his best work throwing to slot receivers. And they've had a lot of disappointment over Anthony Miller. They thought he was going to be a bigger factor in the passing game. Pleasantly surprised with Darnell Mooney, whom they traded up in a later round to draft in 2020. They also have Allen Robinson coming back on a franchise tag, but that's only a one-year deal. He could be looking to move on somewhere elsewhere. So I want to get a unique slot receiver that has some nice size, some unique field stretching ability. And Kadarius Toney, he was a bit under kind of whelming in terms of where he's been hyped for a while, but then all of a sudden the buzz started to come here as people watch Kyle Pitts and what he did catching passes from Kyle Trask. Oh, Kadarius Toney is pretty darn good in the middle of the field as well, making big plays. So Toney gives the Bears a little bit more speed. He's going to help Robinson. He's going to help Mooney. He's going to, first of all, help Dalton here. So our pick here for the Bears, Kadarius Toney, the wide receiver from Florida, number 20 overall. Now let's move on to number 21. We know what the Indianapolis Colts did here in trading for Carson Wentz. So they're set at quarterback. Carson Wentz solves their problems. He's only 25, turning 26 here. He's going to be their franchise quarterback for a while, so they hope. But at the same time, as Phillip Rivers retired, another retirement happened for the Colts. That was their left tackle, Anthony Costanzo. And you bring in Carson Wentz, you want to protect the guy a little bit better. You have a good running game. You got Jonathan Taylor last year in the second round. He's a stud, feature back. You've got T.Y. Hilton coming back to help yourself in the receiving corps. Some nice young depth there. So you need to keep Carson Wentz upright. That was the biggest problem. He took a lot of lumps, took a lot of hits, was the most sacked quarterback in the NFL last year for the Eagles. So let's get some better protection here. Let's rebound, get a left tackle that reminds us of Anthony Costanzo. There's a lot of options here, very similar prospects, but to me, the guy that stands out is Samuel Cosmi from Texas. Nice tall frame here that they can look at. 6'6", 314. So nice kind of reach here, good wingspan to play on the left side and be an elite pass protector. So yeah, we got our quarterback out of the way, Chris Ballard. We traded for Carson Wentz. We still want to get that tackle there to help Frank Reich's new/old investment, reuniting him with Wentz. So Samuel Cosmi, offensive tackle, Texas, to the Colts at number 21. Let's go to number 22, and let's keep up this offensive tackle theme for an AFC South team, shall we? The Titans have a bit of a void at right tackle, and remember, the Titans are all about run blocking. They got Derrick Henry as the centerpiece of their offense. You lost Jack Conklin in free agency to the Browns last year. Dennis Kelly was a pretty good swing tackle, but you moved on from him as well. Let's go shore up that right side. Let's go get that prototypical right tackle that we can put as a rock in the running game. We can have him also help protect Ryan Tannehill better. And to me, this player can only, I think, play right tackle, but he can be a top-level right tackle for years to come here. And the choice for the Titans, to me, is pretty clear. If this player is available, and I think he will be, Taven Jenkins, offensive tackle, Oklahoma State, number 22 to the Titans. All right, so we're down to 23 to the 32, getting to the home stretch here. Now, you would say that the New York Jets should be rather happy about having Zach Wilson with number 2 overall. They do have a second pick here. This pick, number 23 overall, comes from the Jamal Adams trade involved with the Seahawks. So the Seahawks do not get a turn here in the first round unless they trade back in. What do the Jets do? They have to also rebuild their secondary. So a lot of things the Jets have to get right here. Quarterback was just the start of it. They created the need by trading Sam Darnold. You name a need, the Jets pretty much have it. Offensive line to some degree in the interior, edge rusher, cornerback, you could say some degree safety, where Adams' void is still felt with Marcus May. So we want to go with the best available player for all those positions. And Joe Horn, remember him, the cell phone and all that with the Saints? Well, his son, JC, decided to play on the other side of the ball. Had some nice big games here for South Carolina. Makes a lot of big plays on the ball. JC Horn, it's pretty close. I think from Caleb Farley and Patrick Surtain and JC Horn as the top cornerback in this class, it's all pretty close here. I like JC Horn. He's got some nice size here. 6'1", 205 is what we have here. So Robert Saleh likes big corners. You saw that with Richard Sherman in San Francisco. So JC Horn is the pick to the Jets at number 23 overall, the cornerback from South Carolina. We're up to 24 and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the Steelers, I think, have been setting up this pick slowly throughout the offseason. It may not have been the obvious pick when we went in, but part of it we didn't know. Is Ben Roethlisberger going to be back for another season? Are they going to re-sign Juju Smith-Schuster? What's going to be the state of their offensive line? We have a few more answers on all those things. The one place we do not have an answer with the Pittsburgh Steelers is the running game. James Conner was not re-signed. They're trying to find that workhorse. A guy that can power through, that can carry the load here, that Mike Tomlin likes, that old school tough football player that can pound between the tackles, but we also want a guy who can catch some passes and be effective here. We know Ben Roethlisberger's arm, not what it used to be. We want a guy that is going to be dynamic in the passing game as well, and also durable and strong, because that's something that James Conner did not provide here post Le'Veon Bell. So the choice here to me is pretty clear if this plays out with the picks in front of the Steelers. I think it has to be Najee Harris, the running back from Alabama, yet another great offensive weapon from this team. So you had Mac Jones go to the 49ers, you had Devonta Smith go to the Lions earlier, Jalen Waddle to the Chargers, and now it's Najee Harris's time to come off the clock. Yeah, and for your fantasy football players, Najee Harris and the Steelers, that's a pretty darn good pick here to look at as a potential RB1. So all the way, this makes a lot of sense, reality fantasy-wise, Najee Harris, running back Alabama, the pick for the Steelers at number 24. All right, now we're up to number 25. The Jaguars get a second turn on the clock, much like the Jets. So they have another pick here, still reaping the benefits from the Jalen Ramsey trade with the Rams. So what do the Jaguars need? Well, they need a lot as well, other than quarterback. So just like the Jets, they could use some secondary help. It's playmaking in general, all over the field, offensively and defensively. So I think, to me, they need somebody who can disrupt things in the middle of the field defensively, get to the quarterback, and I think it's time to go right back down the well of the Alabama Crimson Tide. This guy really came on strong during the college football playoff. He was unguardable here, broke through, made a lot of big plays. Jaguars need a disruptor of this level. They had Calais Campbell just a couple years ago as the anchor of their big-time defensive performance, but I think it's a good pick for Urban Meyer here for this defense. Christian Barmore, defensive tackle, Alabama, to the Jaguars with their second first-rounder, number 25 overall. All right, now we're up to the Cleveland Browns, the playoff Cleveland Browns. Yeah, that's a rare thing to have the Browns pick in the first round this late, because that means they made the playoffs. So they actually won a playoff game, too. Beat the Steelers. Didn't quite finish off the Chiefs there, but the Browns having good vibes here all of a sudden, now picking to bolster a good team versus desperately improve a bad team. So that's a nice position for the Browns there with Kevin Stefanski, Andrew Berry. Let's look at a help that we can find on the second level, get a guy that can rush the passer, but also help us play linebacker a little bit better in coverage, be active, just make some more plays, support Myles Garrett, support that good secondary that's coming together here, led by Denzel Ward. So the pick to me for the Browns, and this has been pretty popular for them, I think some people see him as a pure edge rusher. Some people see him as a guy that you can put at multiple positions. I think it's Azeez Ojulari. So hybrid player, Joe Woods, the defensive coordinator, likes these type of players. So let's pick him for the Browns. I think they'll be very happy with that pick. Azeez Ojulari from Georgia to the Browns 26. We're getting close to the end here. Number 27, it's another team from the AFC North, the Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens got some criticism for not doing much to help Lamar Jackson in the offseason. They only signed Sammy Watkins, and that's not going to excite anyone as a wide receiver addition. So they need to look for wide receiver help later. They need some offensive tackle depth at some point they need to look for. But the number one need for the Baltimore Ravens by far is edge rusher. They lost Matthew Judon to the Patriots in free agency. They're really struggling here to try to rebuild that pass rush. So they need a guy that is going to be solid and can do everything, rush the passer. They can put out there to start in their defense. And we talked earlier about when we had the pick for the Cardinals, that there were two Miami defensive ends / outside linebackers that were going to be impact edge rushers that could be the number one off the board. The other one was Jalen Phillips. So Jalen Phillips, Gregory Rousseau, pretty good defense they had down in Miami. Keep in mind that Rousseau opted out. Phillips really boosted his stock here this year. So nice size, 6'5", 266. May remind some Ravens fans and the Ravens themselves here of what they had one time with Terrell Suggs there. So Jalen Phillips, the edge rusher from Miami, number 27 overall to the Baltimore Ravens. All right, we're into number 28, and this is edge rusher time. This is the edge rusher sweet spot of the first round. The New Orleans Saints didn't pay a lot to keep Trey Hendrickson, and I think that was a good decision. And Trey Hendrickson had one big breakout year. They're playing off Cameron Jordan. The Bengals decided to splurge, took him away from this defense. The Saints really didn't have many resources here. And basically what they're going to do is, knowing that they didn't have a lot of salary cap space, they're going to rebuild their defense through the draft if they want to stay contenders here. It might be a little bit of transition year between Taysom Hill and Jameis Winston as they move on from Drew Brees. They have to go chase the Buccaneers down. So the first order of business here for me, for the Saints, has to be saying, look, we got to get our defense back to what we want here. So multiple guys that they can look at here. The guy that I think fits here as edge rusher is Joseph Osai from Texas. Just a good, solid all-around end that they can put next to Cameron Jordan. Jordan's had a nice career there, but getting a little older, needs a complimentary pass rusher. So Joseph Osai of Texas, 6'3", 245 pounds, goes to the Saints here at number 28. So we're down to the final 4 picks of the first round here, and we look at the Green Bay Packers, and we have to look at what they have needs for, and Jalen Mayfield is a tackle I've liked from Michigan for quite a while now. It's a tough call on who's the next tackle. I think a lot of people have Dylan Raduns from North Dakota State, Alex Leatherwood of Alabama, Jackson Carman of Clemson, Liam Eichenberger of Notre Dame, and you look at Jalen Mayfield here of Michigan. I think he's the type of offensive lineman that can help them. They are also looking at right tackle. You have David Bakhtiari here. So you say Bakhtiari has a few good years left, so we don't have to look at left tackle now, but let's think about Aaron Rodgers more this time. We're not going to draft a quarterback this time this late in the draft with what's left. Let's actually give Aaron Rodgers some help here instead of giving him consternation and a reason to doubt if the Packers really trust him. I think the MVP has earned that here. So Jalen Mayfield is the pick, the offensive tackle from Michigan at number 29 for the Packers. The next pick here is the Buffalo Bills. Edge rusher, let's get back on that track here. We have Jason Owe. I really like him. He's a edge rusher with some freakish ability. So you say, who's the freakish talent on the defensive side of the ball? In this draft, you would say Kwity Paye of Michigan, and then you look at Jason Owe. 6'5", 257. There's a little bit of Jason Pierre-Paul kind of vibes from him, Ziggy Ansah. These are two guys that were a bit raw, but we knew that their athleticism could translate into some big-time production. We saw that Ansah couldn't quite stay healthy to be productive. Jason Pierre-Paul rebounded nicely to be a big impact player for the Bucs. So I really like this pick here for the Bills, Jason Owe. Let's get the edge rush rebuilt here. That's what the Bills need most here if they're going to turn the corner and become that elite team in the AFC and catch the Chiefs. All right, we're down to the last 2 picks here of our first round mock draft for Sporting News. And we had the Kansas City Chiefs, a disappointment in Super Bowl 55. They thought they were going to repeat, but the Buccaneers and Tom Brady spoiled those plans. So what do the Chiefs do now? We know they moved on from their 2 offensive tackles, Eric Fisher and Mitchell Schwartz, so tackle seems to be a position of need, but the way this first round has played out for us, a little bit of a reach here for the Chiefs to go offensive tackle this early. So I think they need to think about the best player available. I think they could also use some defensive back help as well as wide receiver. I think wide receiver is something they can also target in the later round. So this is a pretty good pick for them, I think. And Greg Newsome of Northwestern, the cornerback, he's really shot up boards here, makes a lot of plays in the ball, great size here for what they're looking for on the back end of the defense in Kansas City. So really can't go wrong with a lot of need picks here, but I think Newsome is a little bit better value than those other positions to address for the Chiefs. So Brett Veach and Andy Reid get a little bit of help for Steve Spagnuolo here, resist the temptation to go offense. And yes, they draft Greg Newsome to cornerback Northwestern with the penultimate pick here in the first round. And we are down to 32. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have owned this offseason. What have they not done? They brought back everybody. They got Tom Brady an extension. Rob Gronkowski's back in the mix. And Ndamukong Suh's there. Lamonte David got his deal. You had Shaq Barrett get his deal. You got Leonard Fournette coming back in the backfield, and they just added Gio Bernard to the backfield. So pretty much they're just waiting to figure out if they want to bring back Antonio Brown. But the Buccaneers that just won the Super Bowl are the Buccaneers that are going to try to win Super Bowl 56. So they can do anything they want with this pick. Here, maybe think a little bit to the future. They could even use this to trade up a little bit, go after a luxury player they like a few picks ahead of them. So when you look at the Bucs, they need to be drafting for depth. So they could use an edge rusher here to complement Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul. They could look to the future at defensive tackle as well, because Ndamukong Suh is 34. He's on another one-year deal. They're going to have to replace him at some point. So I'm looking at the Bucs maybe going a little bit off the board here in terms of what might be the conventional wisdom and who might be the next available player, best available player, so to speak. And I think you have to say, let's stash a defensive tackle that reminds a lot of Ndamukong Suh, who's quick, who's strong, who can help us against the run. We have an elite run defense. Put him next to Vita Vea in a couple years. Yeah, we could definitely see this. So Levi Onwuzurike, the defensive tackle from Washington, I think he makes a lot of sense. If the Bucs stay put here at number 32, no longer need anything on offense here. So defense, future, the status of Suh say, go for a defensive tackle. Levi Onwuzurike from Washington is our final pick here in the first round mock draft. Yeah, so that's how we wrap it up, 1 through 32 for you. You've got to look at the process and what we're thinking for each team when they're on the clock. So hope all your teams got exactly what they wanted here in the first round. And thanks so much again for watching. Again, follow us, like and subscribe here on YouTube, and share your comments. We want to know what you think about what we did in this mock draft. See you later. Vinnie Iyer for Sporting News.